Siblings of the golden child. When did your parents' favoritism come back to bite them? What was the aftermath? My brother was the golden child, youngest, only boy that my mother was so desperate to have. Honestly, he's great, respectful, kind, happy. He just got married, and my mother hates his wife. So now after some comments that she can't really walk back, my mom is low contact with my brother, and it's driving her absolutely insane. Next story. I've got a late-in-life miracle baby only child cousin who has had an interesting time of this. Wealthy family, long-awaited baby. He was given top-of-the-line consoles and computers from the age of 3, a bedroom and a playroom, which was so full of toys by the time he started preschool that his parents had to ask everyone to stop sending him toys as a gift. All because he was bought a gift every single time they went anywhere. His mom was just incapable of saying no to her little prince. Every trip to the shoe store or the supermarket was another new toy. He just never had to do anything that he didn't want to. Forget about chores and homework. When he wanted to sit up all night playing WoW and sleep through the school day because he didn't feel well, that was fine. His parents would throw money at literally anything he showed interest in. He played a snowboarding video game for a while, so they bought him full skiing and snowboarding gear, and they all flew out to the slopes several times, where he sat in the lodge playing video games on his laptop. They kitted him out with everything you could dream of for a couple of martial arts, golf, a few musical instruments, probably a bunch of stuff I never heard about as well. But he knew he was destined to be a professional gamer, so why would he bother with anything else? Gaming was his ticket to fame and glory. How did this all play out? It turns out that if you do that through most of your teens, you fail out of school at 16 no matter how unbelievably smart your mom thinks you are. He's 25 now, still at home, and to the best of my knowledge, he still hasn't completed his high school diploma or any equivalent studies. He's never held down a job, and hasn't completed any of the apprenticeships or placements that his parents have organized for him over the years. His mom still does everything for him, but he's freaking miserable. He's distraught. He doesn't know anything. He isn't good at anything. He can't do anything. He's got no friends. Everyone he was friendly with went off to university, got jobs, and are starting to settle down with partners or travel the world. They're off living their adult lives, and he's at home with his mom making lunch for him every day. I mean, with full honesty, it genuinely must be pretty hard to not spoil your child if you're waiting that long for them, you know? Like, essentially a miracle baby, you're gonna give them all they want, not realizing maybe how that sets them up pretty poorly for later in life. But like, am I crazy if I say I kind of get it from the parents' perspective? I'm not saying what they did was the correct decision, but I see how it happens. I hope this kid gets some discipline at some point, learn some life skills, anything. I thought I wanted to be a pro gamer when I was growing up too. Realized pretty quickly that, you know what, I actually want to go to university or finish high school even instead. And for any aspiring pros out there, they're not mutually exclusive. You can do well in school and still practice a lot of games. It's a lot of work, but hey, going pro in something like that is a lot of work. And learning to balance it with actually living as a human being is super important. So hey, kids, even if you want to be a pro gamer, don't just game 24/7. Other things you'll learn in life will bleed into the gaming skills, genuinely. You'll learn how to manage your time, just be happier, be with friends, people you like, do physical activity. Anyway, this went on a huge tangent because, I don't know, I used to be there. Moving on. Next story. My sister was the golden child. She also has mental issues. Could function as a perfectly regular adult if they hadn't coddled her so much. Mom has passed, but she lives with my dad. Recently, she tried to burn his house down, sold his truck, stole all of his money, and beat the crap out of him. I live out of state, so I called APS about her bullcrap. Called him and told him to let them help him. He just told me, well, maybe you're wrong, and told the super sweet APS lady that everything was fine. I washed my hands of it. I'm expecting a call within the next few years letting me know that she ended him. The whole family turns a blind eye to everything she does. We used to be a really close-knit lower middle class family. Now everyone is bankrupt and on drugs. I wish I could say I was being dramatic when I say every single instance of these issues can be traced back to my sister. I got the hell out of there and will never go back. Next story. My brother, the golden child, is now a 50-year-old unemployed alcoholic. He never finished high school but was considered so much smarter and better looking than the four of us. Mom blew so much smoke up his butt that he never achieved anything, as he didn't ever think he had to try. Completely poisoned his life. Next story. I was the golden child, but not in the way you'd expect. I was doted on because of my looks, and my mom would pimp me out to TV stations or modeling agencies for a shot to become famous and escaping poverty in the Philippines. This went on for years of my childhood. This backfired, and I'm now a huge punk/tomboy. My sister resented me for it, so she turned to her studies as a way to get my mom's attention. And guess what? Now she's the golden child. Good career, great husband, lots of money to shower. I'm living an incredibly simple life, living it on my own terms though, and she takes any opportunity she can get to criticize what I do under the guise of me possibly hurting our mom. Did I turn out screwed up? Maybe, yeah. I stay home, smoke weed, play video games, get tattoos. But I never want to hurt anybody ever. Funny how me reclaiming my life after years under the microscope still bites me in the butt. Next story. My sibling turned into a grown-up jerk. They never do housework, won't pay rent if they can get away with it, will not clean up to the point where their living area looks like a hoarder lives there and just says they'll get a maid, is entitled to other people's things, and always feels like their feelings are the most valuable. They never admit to doing anything, never apologize, and will cry if you call them out. They have no friends because people just don't have time to waste on something like that. I'm almost 10 years younger, and they mimic my behavior in public. I confronted them about it, and they blamed it on undiagnosed autism and a wide host of excuses. It's exhausting for my parents, but my sibling hasn't, and won't, move out of my parents' house. They can't. They literally can't adult correctly because my parents did everything for them growing up. They have homework they're not doing? Oh, my parents would do it. They need to sign up for college and financial aid? My parents did all of it. All of their cars were bought by my parents. Bills overdue? Yep, my parents paid them off. My sibling is in her late 30s, and she is stuck at a 15-year-old mentality. Next story. My mother was a narcissist and delusional. She pulled my sister into being the adult of the family by the time she was 12. She had to protect her and to listen to all of her crazy stories about how everyone was out to get her. But my sister could do no wrong. She was the perfect golden child of the family. So she never connected the dots that my mom was mentally ill. When my mom died, my sister had a nervous breakdown once all of the ongoing stress let off. Decided she had lead poisoning from paint and that she was allergic to everything on earth. She got to the point where all she would eat is baby food and had hysterical blindness. She went to 52 different doctors and finally found some quack who charged her over $100,000 for chelation. My mom had essentially made her a mini-me, and she was lost. I don't know if this is due to favoritism. This feels like something else was going on there. And by something else, I do mean mental illness. Like a doctor, maybe, but I feel like a therapist would really do your sister some good. I hope she sorts things out. Also, do not know what chelation is. I had to look up what that was. I had to look up how to say it. Why does a word that starts with C-H-E sound like key? Anyway, next story. My brother and I have a running theory that he's my mom's favorite and I'm my dad's favorite. Being my dad's favorite just meant he spent a couple more minutes talking to me while growing up and coached my softball team. But being my mom's favorite meant my brother got whatever he wanted. Up until high school, all I ever wanted was to go to Disney World, but my parents either never wanted to or said we didn't have money. I remember saving aluminum cans to recycle them to try to earn money so he could go. My brother, who's a few years younger, never cared about going. He was happy just being holed up in his room playing video games. Never once did he ever say he wanted to go too. I never did end up going to Disney World, but right after my brother graduated high school, they called me up to tell me that they were taking him to Disney World as a graduation gift because, quote, that's all he ever wanted as a child. They were even flying there, and flying in an airplane was also something I wanted to do as a kid that I never got to do. By the way, they didn't invite me on this trip. I was around 20 at the time. They were just calling to tell me they were going. They ended up staying a whole week. When they got back, I asked how it went, and they said he was miserable the whole time, complained about the heat, and just wanted to stay inside the hotel and play video games. This was over 15 years ago now, and a couple of years ago, I finally worked up the courage to tell my mom how that made me feel that I never got to go, but he did. She then claimed that I never told her I wanted to go. Not true. When I denied that and said I told her multiple times, she tried to claim I was invited on their trip too, but I told her I didn't want to go. Also, not true. Next story. My sister became an alcoholic and a drug addict. I think the moment that really smacked my mom in the face was that when her mom died, she gave me nothing, and my sister her pick of the family jewelry because that kind of stuff means something to your sister. My sister pawned it all, then ran off to be homeless so she could indulge her addiction without criticism. She has been in and out of prison for the last decade, which was the only time we knew for sure she was alive. But hey, she's clean now. It will be different this time, my mother assures me, while sending her money and valuables like a laptop and a brand new smartphone. I'm sure that's not going to end in tears. Next story. Background. My biological grandfather died when my mother and oldest uncle were small children. My grandmother was only 18 years old at the time and remarried fast. Her new husband was my grandfather's cousin, and he was praised for taking a widow with children as his bride. Pretty soon, their golden child, let's call him Mark, was born. While my mother and her full brother always had to do chores, had to work at their relative's farm during the holidays, and basically had to listen to my step-grandfather's tyrannical rules, Mark was spoiled. He never had to work, was driven to school, and always got away with everything. My mother and uncle were always blamed whenever Mark had done anything bad. Even when Mark was found sharing a bed with a 14-year-old when he was 25 himself, they blamed it on the girl instead of him. Okay, haven't done this in a while. Jumping in for a second. Whoa! Whoa! What? Blame it on the girl. Oh, ooh, that made me so mad. Holy. Let's see what more there is. Years went on, and eventually he was arrested while under the influence of several drugs. My grandparents blamed the bar where Mark had been partying that evening. They must have slipped those drugs into his drink because their precious son would never do anything wrong. The worst thing about it, however, was that Mark did once again get away with it without a scratch. Mark ended up marrying his now ex-wife because he had gotten her pregnant at 17 while he was 27. The girl came from a rather unsavory family, and they used an old loophole in local regulations to allow the wedding. They had a very turbulent relationship that produced 3 children. 10 years ago, his ex-wife filed for divorce. Because Mark couldn't bother taking care of the children and she wanted a clean slate, my 3 cousins were dropped off at my grandparents' house. Aftermath. My aging grandparents, both 74, have had to move on from Mark. He was arrested during a raid on a drug-dealing ring and was sent to prison for 13 years. My grandparents, however, didn't learn anything from this experience and continued to pick favorites. His first child has gone no contact with him and our grandparents after being made into the new maid. She's now living in her college dorm and is making something for herself. His second child became the new golden child. He still lives with my grandparents and refuses to go to school anymore. He's 20 years old and has no high school degree, doesn't do anything but game, party, and does drugs daily. He openly abuses my grandparents and their blind devotion. The third child was forced to go and beg his mother to take him in. My grandparents made a couple of lame excuses why he and he alone had to leave their home. He's 17 years old and knows that his mother is kicking him out as soon as he turns 18. She doesn't want to be reminded of her old life with Mark and only does the bare minimum for her child. TLDR, no lessons were learned, and now they're repeating their mistakes with their new generation, their grandchildren. Next story. My sibling is genuinely successful, a kind and brilliant man. He's achieved every kind of success a man could. I could only develop a relationship with him after our parents died. He's been nurtured and grown to be wonderful. He is wonderful. I love him. He loves me. He tells me I'm better than I think I am. I doubt him. It's taken 50 years to get here. Next story. My brother is the favorite one because he's white-skinned and better looking. Typical Asian thingy if you must. I was also slow in development and in middle school, tested my IQ to be 80, so they kind of see me as a shame. I am a very late bloomer. My grandparents and parents prefer him. This is about my grandparents. Being the more financially successful one while my brother struggles to find a job, I'm responsible for putting the meals on the table. It's somewhat their fault that he's overly spoiled and lazy. Now, they're very conscious of their bad treatment in my younger days, so they're very careful not to offend me. Once they pushed to make me send my brother to college so he can get a degree to get a job. I don't have a degree. I told them they can start asking him to pay for their living expenses because I am not shy to leave them homeless. I did so with my mother. She begged me to help her financially because she got dumped with a child by her new husband, and I closed the door on her. I honestly have zero attachment to them due to the abuse that they did when I was young, including locking me up in a room so I can get better. They are kind of afraid of me. I know they hate me, but they can never say it, and they're civil around me. Anytime there's a disagreement, I'll tell them to get my brother to start supporting them. It's mostly no argument, and they will begrudgingly agree with everything I say, even if it's against what they believe. Some may say it's financial abuse, but I'm not abusing them. They're always free to leave. I have no obligation to take care of them, but that's what I do. And if they can't appreciate that, they can always go to their more favored child. Next story. I'll let you know once it happens. My parents see my brother as their golden child, and through all his screw-ups, they still have not changed their minds. My brother is 33, failed out of college twice, and can't hold a small, menial job for more than a few months at a time. He sleeps all day, doesn't help out around the house, and lives in filth. My parents have multiple homes, and my brother mostly lives alone in one of them. He trashes it and expects them to clean it up, which they do. They go to that home every month to clean it up and make sure he has enough food. He lives there for free. They pay the mortgage and the utilities, and mostly leave him alone. He has stolen money from them and used it to travel internationally. He has no concept of money and believes it just appears in front of him because my parents pay for everything he needs. He spends their money like crazy because more money just appears instantly, and he has no appreciation for how hard my parents work to get it. My parents can't retire because he just keeps spending. My mom has already told me that when they pass, my brother is inheriting a majority of their estate because he needs it more. I'm the more responsible one, so therefore, I must not need the money as much, so they won't be splitting it 50-50 between us. Don't get me wrong, my parents have helped me out as well. I lived in one of their homes with my husband for 5 years while we saved for our own, but we paid rent and utilities. When we were finally in the process of buying a home, my brother decided he wanted to live in our rented house instead and tried to kick us out. When we went to the house to pack up our belongings because we were afraid he wouldn't let us back in, he tried to say it all belonged to him now. When I argued with him that everything in the house was bought with the hard-earned money from my husband and I, he argued back, "So what? You can just make more money and buy new stuff." Like I said, no understanding of the concept of money and a hard-earned dollar. I was also 6 months pregnant at the time, and he had made threats toward my unborn baby. We later found out it was because he was having a mental breakdown from refusing to take his meds, which my parents used as an excuse as to why I should forgive him for his behavior. He has never once acted like he was in the wrong and has never apologized. I completely cut ties with him and disowned him as my brother, vowing to never allow him to have a relationship with my son. That was over 2 years ago. My mom has repeatedly overstepped my boundaries regarding this and has invited my brother to see my son on multiple occasions. I've already started rambling too much, but I've only begun to scratch the surface on all my brother's screw-ups. I could literally write a book on all the things he's done that my parents have overlooked. It's gotten to the point where I no longer care if they work themselves to the bone to support their golden child. He can have the entire inheritance for all I care. He's just going to spend it all in record time after they're no longer on this earth. They did this to themselves. Whew. I would be so frustrated if anyone answered, "Well, can't you just make more?" Like, "Oh, dude, why don't you try? How about that? How about you go get a job if it's so easy to make money, man? Buy stuff yourself, perhaps." Yeesh. Next story. My parents are divorced and remarried, so there's children from both sides. I have 3 brothers. Brother 1 is still my mother's golden child. They talk for several hours a day on the phone just to complain about people. He's an unsuccessful corporate clone who self-diagnoses everything, is an elitist but has no money due to an entirely reasonable level of child support that he constantly cries over, 3 kids, hates his life, and has an insane victim mentality and wants to sue everyone and everything. He's the type who will cry for hours and go around in circles and demand support, but then ignore everything you've said so he can continue crying and being placated. I stopped doing that when I was 25. I'm 42 now. We have no relationship. Brother 1 is oldest and was both mother and my father's golden child. Then my father remarried and had a child when we were adults with our own children. My youngest brother, brother 3 from father and stepmother, is my father's new favorite. He's 18, has a level 3 autism, and is a pretty good kid. Brother 1 is deeply upset that my father has changed his will to provide for brother 3 after his death, imminent, and his elder children, me and brother 1, will receive almost nothing. I'm fine with this, as brother 3 will need lifelong care. Brother 1 is scheming to get some of that sweet inheritance money, though. My stepfather's favorite is my younger brother, brother 2, who was spoiled to hell whilst I was parentified to care for him, like night feeds and all-day everyday care at 13. I love him to bits as he feels like my first baby, and he's a very kind and intelligent person. However, with the love of my stepfather and mother came expectations. He has learning disabilities, but he's a highly gifted artist and musician, taught himself to play 7 instruments, has recorded albums, and had a live launch at a bar with his band. My parents insisted he go to university for the most boring degree, the exact same one my older brother did, instead of taking the scholarship offered to a prestigious Academy of Performing Arts for music. He failed first semester because he hated it, and a decade later still doesn't have a permanent job because he has no confidence and must have worked in 15 jobs in that time. He's also a stoner, but hey, so am I. As for me, out of 4 children, I'm the black sheep who is considered a female dog by all 3 parents. I'm the only girl. My mother hates me, but she's the type who seems really nice to everyone, but is truly an idiot who has sadistic tendencies. I will not take care of them in their old age. They all can ask their favorite children. I feel guilt over this, but all 3 have been abusive in one form or another, resulting in me being disabled, and I have BPD, OSFED, as well as other co-disorders. FAFO, and blood does not make you family. I love my younger brothers though, and I will always be there for them. Next story. Golden child in my family wasn't a sibling, but rather a cousin. Cousin is 3 to 4 years older than me. His parents weren't great role models for various reasons, so he was in and out of foster care, etc. My parents tried to adopt him, blah blah blah. When I was 16, his parents dropped him at our door to live with us for several months. While he was with us, he could do no wrong. He would verbally and physically assault me. He was on all kinds of drugs, so on and so forth. He never got a high school degree or anything. His entire life he blamed his childhood or everyone around him for everything wrong. Most of my extended family has cut him completely off except for my dad. Most of us will refuse to go to any family event he's invited to because he's violent, angry, and drug-addled. He has tried to end my life. Last I heard, he was in prison and got himself viciously attacked to the point of hospitalization because he couldn't shut his damn mouth. Next story. I'm adopted. Older brother is their biological child. They bought him 2 cars, paid for medical school, bought him a house. He hasn't talked to my parents in a decade after his divorce. They have to talk to the ex-wife to see the grandkids. Guess how well that goes over. I barely come around anymore for reasons. Not saying they weren't great parents. Growing up, they were wonderful, but I was definitely the adopted brown kid. Went to get family photos once. The photographer called me Spot, and they just laughed and laughed. Next story. My brother was the kindest and sweetest child. We all really adored him. I'm not surprised he was the golden child. He had such a kind and pure soul. He was the youngest and only boy, so he was really doted on. He fell into a deep depression after high school. He never really moved out of our mom's place, never finished school, and got his first job at 32. We all took responsibility for him without realizing that he needs to take responsibility for himself. Our mom passed away, and while he has a lot of grief and things to learn in terms of living as an adult, a weight has somehow been lifted. He is finally taking initiative in his life in ways that he never thought were possible. It's clear he had been so coddled to the point of his demise. When I think about everything I've done in my 20s, I can't imagine having spent it day in and day out playing video games in our childhood home. He still has a kind and pure soul. It will just take a lot of unscrewery to bring it back out. Next story. The golden child / scapegoat situation in my family was interesting. I had 2 cousins who were siblings. One had severe ADHD and often acted out. Their older sibling competed in dance competitions internationally and did very well in school, earning scholarships to this top school. Older kid was the priority, with the parents investing in their success, while the younger kid was constantly asked, "Why can't you be more like perfect kid?" Younger sibling struggled in high school but graduated. After graduation, they flourished, got a construction job and worked up. Meanwhile, the older sibling graduated college and it took them a year to find a job. Having never faced adversity, this took a mental toll on them, especially when they had to ask the younger sibling for help. All of us in the extended family could see this from a mile away, and the favoritism even trickled down the cousins. My grandmother knew I'd also have trouble finding a job after college, but told me that my cousin was fragile about not finding a job, and then ranted about how someone so perfect couldn't find one. Meanwhile, the kid everyone yelled at all the time had been working continually since age 18 and became a homeowner in his late 20s. I don't really consider this as coming back to bite them, you know? Like, sure, they faced hard times for the first time a little later in life than most people do, but I'm assuming they still tried. They didn't, completely shut down, right? They just struggled a little bit. And I mean, they even asked the younger sibling for help, which at least shows they weren't super full of themselves or something, depending on how they did it. I guess they could have gone and been like, so you got a job, give me a job, or whatever, but probably not, right? We can hope. Next story. My parents are continually reaping what they sow. They have always prioritized my sister, paid for private school while the others got bullied in state school, very little in terms of having to help around the house while I cooked, cleaned, and cared for our disabled sibling. Because they spent so much on her schooling, they didn't have money for basics for me. I've worked and paid for my clothes, toiletries, and even school trips from 13. As an adult, they've done endless childcare for her, which has enabled them, sister and brother-in-law, to travel for work, leading to promotion and pay rises. During this, she berated them regularly, and I think they're scared of her. They wanted to give me money to help buy a house, but she kicked off and they rescinded the offer. Their house was paid for by his parents. They're now starting to need care, but I've told them to ask her, as I'm on extremely low income and can't afford unpaid leave. Next story. Mine is the extreme version. Basically, I'm the byproduct of my mom's failed second marriage. She filed for divorce right after I was born, and honestly, she had no business being a mom because she was very mentally ill. Just no official diagnosis. My grandparents even tried to get her to give up custody so they could adopt me. She went on to husband number 3 that would also be husband number 5 later in life. He was my stepdad my whole life, and I actually didn't know he wasn't my biological dad until they briefly divorced and my mom screamed at me over it. They had a son. My mom threw everything into my brother and into trying to be accepted into my stepdad's family. The catch is, none of them saw me as anything more than unwanted leftovers from her past. They never wanted me around and made it really freaking clear. This escalated into my mom neglecting me, and from there it turned into her physically and mentally abusing me, which opened the door for my stepdad to get away with physically abusing me too. I was made to clean the whole house for them, including their bedrooms and bathrooms. Meanwhile, my little brother is being raised as a prince. His paternal family shower him with gifts and trips. At home, he's never punished or yelled at, and my parents never tell him no if he wants something. He's watching how I get treated and starts to join in. At first, it's lying to get me in trouble or stealing my things and lying to keep them or breaking my stuff to make me upset. Eventually, he gets bigger and starts hitting me too. This whole time, I'm not allowed a birthday party, friends, I'm not given regular medical care or dental visits. Hell, by the time I was in junior high, my mom quit buying me clothes or even a toothbrush. I was getting hand-me-down clothes from friends. It started to backfire pretty quickly on my parents. My brother thought he was the center of the universe and was used to getting violent when he didn't get his way. He also got into drinking and drugs by the time he was in junior high. He started skipping school. He was arrested for assault and drugs. My parents went into deep debt paying his court fees and still buying him whatever he wanted. I joined the military and got away as fast as I could. My brother did not. He had to be a super senior to get his diploma and was living with my parents, partying and draining their bank accounts well into his 20s. They lost their original house to debt, and they were renting a place for a while. But with no one to clean up after them anymore, they got kicked out of their house for being disgusting. My brother decided he needed greener pastures, so he moved hundreds of miles away, but still had them paying his bills. He's almost 40 now, and that just stopped because my mom died and my stepdad can't afford anything. My stepdad is now alone hundreds of miles from the only kid he ever cared about, and no one to help take care of him. Meanwhile, I got married to a great guy 20 years ago and had 2 awesome kids. We have our own home well away from that mess. I've been in therapy for a few years trying to get over the childhood trauma, and hey, I'm doing good. Next story. My brother is the golden child, never obligated to do any house chores, never took any responsibilities, and any bad things were just laughed at. He didn't turn bad, however my mom is now complaining that he doesn't help her at home. She has to do all the cleaning alone, and he doesn't know how to fill out administrative papers, so my mom has to do it for him. Next story. My brother was the golden child, however, my mom shot herself in the foot. He was less than 2 years old when I was born, and right when she got me home, she put me in his arms and told him he was the big brother and had to look after me and care for me. He took this very seriously as a child does, and so while I was persona non grata, he still loved and looked out for me. When we figured out her favoritism wasn't just coincidence or in our heads, we worked together to get around her bullcrap. We were close as siblings can be. The only unconditional affection and acceptance we had was from each other. It was hard when he couldn't take the weight of her expectations anymore and started sabotaging himself. He's nearly 50 and he still falls back into that cycle. I've had my own share of bullcrap as well. It never ends. You just find ways to cope and stay vigilant so you don't slip. Next story. Not me, but my mom. Her brother was the golden child. He could do no wrong and my mom could do no right. When my mom got her first time of the month, her mom beat her because, quote, she was more of a woman than her. Most of the favoritism was shown by my grandma. Back in the 90s, her brother had to out of nowhere move from Florida back to Michigan. Turns out he had been caught assaulting a severely underage girl from the neighborhood. His wife threw some money around and got the family to not take it to court. My grandma worked to bury it within the family, but we all knew he had actually assaulted some of his cousins and even my mom when he was a teen. She had a mental breakdown knowing her perfect son wasn't perfect. Even after that, she still preferred my uncle over my mom. I can't fathom what goes on in someone's head to not just immediately cut someone off like that. Like, surely that's universally agreed upon disgusting behavior, right? I would immediately have the worst possible opinion of someone if I learned that about them. I think that would extend to a potential child, but to be fair, I don't know that. But still, I would not want to associate with anyone who has done something like that. And oh my god, his wife throwing money at it to make it go away? Are you kidding me? Have you no empathy for the victim at all? Holy. The idea that between two children, that one could still be someone's favorite baffles me. Next story. My brother is the favorite. He's my mom's special snowflake, so misunderstood. She used to hand wring, he had no friends, no one understood him. Everyone understood him. He was a jerk. Possessive, rude, manipulative, cruel. He beat the crap out of me regularly, got me with a pool stick one time, broke my possessions, stole them, took over my room and demanded I sleep on a love seat. He would verbally abuse me, and my mother said I was lucky because I was learning how to tolerate abuse. So I ended up with a lot of therapy. She never just told him no. He did what he wanted and she'd say, nothing I can do about it. He repeated 9th grade, I think, twice because he wouldn't go to school. He was put in alternative school, one class short of graduation, and he decided, nah, no GED because he doesn't think he should have to pay for it. No job because he doesn't think he should have to work jobs that bore him. No relationships because he torments people until they can't stand him. He has nothing. He is the type of person who will spend more time figuring out how to avoid things he doesn't want to do when doing the thing would be faster. Now, the one thing I will add is that if we were in school now, he'd have an ASD diagnosis, probably more support. Things might have been different, but I doubt it, because he'd still believe he was never responsible for the ways he jacked his own life. Next story. I think my siblings would say I'm the golden child, though it seems we're using a very different definition than what is common in this post. I'm the golden child in the sense that my parents decided I was going to be the successful one, so they gave me a lot of adult responsibilities early and made their love conditional on my success. I'm doing okay in my career, I guess, but it was kind of amazing how quickly my parents stopped calling or trying when my job wasn't something they could brag about anymore. And yes, I'm a mess. Perfectionist, neurotic, anxious, in therapy though, and very happily married, pregnant, and trying to start this whole thing over in a better way. Next story. He got arrested for beating up a homeless person. Not his first time either, just first time a cop saw him do it. He's a sociopath, but boy, is he a good rock climber. And that's all my parents ever cared about this 40-year-old trust fund baby. Next story. Husband's sister is the golden child. It bit his father in the butt when she borrowed $200,000 to open a business, and then became disinterested, so it just died. They're not wealthy. It screwed them financially for about 10 years. Don't worry though, as soon as father-in-law recovered financially, he bought her a house because she can't hold a job on her own. This life exercise has made it super clear that sister will be physically taking care of him as they become feeble though. So win-win as far as we're concerned. Next story. My brother next to me is the golden child. He was sickly when we were young, so most of my parents' attention was focused on him. This continued even when we were older. Good thing is that my parents also show love to us. He just gets the most. He's smart, got the highest honor when he graduated college and the top university university in our country. He was at the top 10 when he took the board exam for doctors. I mean, he really did make my parents proud, but he is the source of their pain today. When he got married, they didn't get the attention that they wanted from him. It wasn't over-the-top attention, just decent or fair. He was raised to only take care of himself, so he only cares about himself. He prioritizes the family of his wife, which made my parents heartache. They raised him, gave their heart to him, but somehow he prioritized the happiness of his in-laws. Oh well. Unlike the other golden childs here who's failing in life, he's at least winning. Next story. My ex-husband's brother is a useless piece of crap who makes a ton of money, treats his wife like garbage, and can't be bothered to lift a finger to help his mother. Didn't even visit his father when he was dying, could barely be bothered to take time off to help his mother afterwards. But hey, at least he didn't go into the arts. My ex has kept a large distance for years to save his sanity. Next story. He turned out truly awful, and they're facing some serious consequences in old age. It was destruction of objects, pathological lying, tormenting and bullying, rage fits, partying and zero-rule adherence, DUIs, girls going to their parents crying because he coerced them or worse. Then it was cheating on his spouse with an infant kid, incidents with police. It never stopped in adulthood. Then it was stealing an absolutely absurd amount of cash from my parents by fraud. The last incident is many decades into this mess. He's gone just about consequence-free the whole time, so he has some tricks to manipulating more than just my parents. He should absolutely be facing legal consequences many times over, and he still isn't. Seeing him on a pedestal not just by my parents, but getting away with his blatantly criminal behavior is not nice. He did horrible things to me, things they still don't even believe or punished me for, which was and is a psychological double whammy. I swear it's like I'm the only person that can see through his charm, and he's a freaking blatant moron. Like, it's sad to the point I feel bad for him. He's shallow, insecure, and truly unintelligent. He can't figure out how a basic budget works and is trapped in his own impulsivity. He really doesn't have any skills or talents at all other than manipulation, and other than his kid, he has produced nothing of value his entire life. Next story. Oh man. I could go on for days about this, but I'll try to condense it. My youngest sibling was heavily favored by my mom, who'd let him do damn near anything he wanted, even if it was playing games until his eyes were bloodshot and he had nosebleeds. He was asked to do the dishes once as a teenager, 16 by the way, and cried so hard he almost puked. He didn't have to do the dishes after his tantrum. He is, without a doubt, the laziest mother effer ever, but he acted like he was the hardest working, most underappreciated person. Like, how dare people get upset when he didn't feed animals like he was supposed to, lied about it, and had said animals die horribly because of starvation. He deserves to relax with games for 18 hours. I struggled with school as we didn't have internet at home, so I could only complete schoolwork for an hour on a library computer. That is what I had to do for years because they didn't see a point to getting internet at home. After school ended, they got internet for my brother so he could play Halo online. Priorities, I guess. For job applications, he would chicken scratch his name that he could barely write at the top, while my mom would fill out the rest in cursive. His work history was so non-existent that folks he house sat for one day were used as references almost a decade and a half out. Same practice with schoolwork. My mom did his homework for him. He could do so little wrong in my mom's eyes that when he pointed a loaded gun at my sister holding my mom's grandchild, my mom looked away, simply stating, "He has the right to defend himself," to my sister, who was unarmed and not being threatened at all. Needless to say, he finds a girl from an extremely religiously abusive household who didn't know better, gets them both into drugs, and they have a baby right away who they never bother taking to a hospital for anything. They steal formula and food and diapers from my sister, who also just had a baby, but she's the one who got immediately kicked out of the house for demanding her baby supplies back. Now that he and his girlfriend are the last kids in the house, the spotlight of how wholly inept and entitled he is begins to shine brightly. There are no more daughters around to cook, clean, and pay my parents' bills. So they tell my brother, who's now a grown man-child who's been absolutely coddled his entire life, he needs to clean his room and not throw used diapers between the wall and the bed. He needs to get a job before they lose the house. To which he does. He cleans without complaint, he gets a job to help with rent, gets sober, and hey, I'm screwing with you. He didn't do any of those things. Instead, he loses his absolute mind screaming about how underappreciated he is as he packs up his baby and barely legal bride and vanishes to wherever the hell he went. He blocked my parents, and that's the last I've heard of it. I have no doubt he'll return eventually. Can't lie, I relish thinking about my parents cleaning his nasty room, realizing how badly they screwed up. Either that or those dirty diapers are creating an unholy sludge behind a closed door, because ultimately my brother inherited his laziness from my parents. Either way, screw him. I hope I never see them again. Sorry, dirty diapers just thrown behind the bed? I don't understand how anyone wants to do that. That's not just lazy, that is willfully disgusting. Like, do they think that it won't go wrong? I don't even want to think about it, actually. Never mind. Next story. My golden child brother, the only boy in the family, go figure, got everything he wanted growing up. Games, consoles, mountain bikes, hockey gear, everything he asked for. He had one chore to do, empty the dishwasher, and if he didn't do it, my sisters and I would get yelled at for not helping him. He was a selfish jerk who hoarded all the toys and destroyed our things because he never got any consequences for anything. He scraped by from high school, started working as a bartender, got a gambling addiction, became an alcoholic for a while, then he had children, got married, and is now moving from weird kind of sketchy business idea to another even sketchier one. My parents bail him out every time, just like they did with his gambling debts. But at least he's sober now, and the latest sketchy business seems to be doing okay. His wife is a smart lady, so I doubt she'll let him screw over their family, so that's something at least. Next story. My dad was guilty of seeing my older sister as the golden child. She was extroverted and outgoing like my dad, while I was the quiet introvert. How often I had to hear, "Why aren't you more like your sister?" My dad didn't give a single crap about my hobbies either. Everything revolved around my sister's hobbies. I was always the ugly duckling of the family, the younger brother who isn't as successful as his older sister. She was more career-oriented and has a higher-paying job and goes on exotic, expensive vacations. My sister never rubbed it in. She's fully aware of this and feels kind of bad about it. But when I announced that I, at 42 years of age, was able to completely pay off the loan to my house thanks to an investment in Bitcoin I made in 2016, all of a sudden I wasn't the unsuccessful ugly duckling anymore. I know money and material possessions aren't the most important things in life, but to my father apparently it is a kind of way to measure success. And I beat everyone at it by just investing a couple thousand of euros I saved by not going on vacation and simply staying home in 2016. Okay, OP, happy for you, great. I do want to say, I don't think investing in Bitcoin was as surefire of a thing as you make it sound. You essentially gambled. You struck it big on a huge growth on something that no one was really sure where it was going. So I'm glad things are good for you, but also, anyone listening, don't take this as financial advice, please. Cryptocurrency is more likely than not going to make you rich. Next story. My brother grew up to be a malignant narcissist himself, and my mom favored him and supported his bad behavior, gave him money, never made him accountable to making good choices. He moved into the home my parents owned and was awful to live with, but she never would let my dad kick him out. My mom's health declined over the last few years, and my dad was her main caretaker until his dementia became too progressed and he was placed in a long-term care home, leaving my mom to rely solely on my brother to take care of her. It lasted 6 months. She ended up falling and breaking her hip in October because, of course, he did nothing to help her. She died a month later in the hospital alone and in pain. Next story. My parents struggled with infertility and miscarriages before finally having my older brother. Their little miracle rainbow baby could do no wrong. My parents bailed him out of every situation he got himself into with no consequences at all. My mom's reasoning was, he just tunes you out if you yell at him, so they never really disciplined him. Eventually, he bankrupted them. They gave him money to fix every problem, and then he would get himself into another. Then he stole money from them. My dad co-signed for his truck, and my brother stopped paying the loan, and it fell to my parents. They got so behind they almost lost their farm. And me, the other kid, oh yeah, I fixed that for them, got them out of their financial hole, made sure they didn't lose the farm. The farm, by the way, they recently wrote into their will that my brother gets when they die. Next story. I'm in a kind of unique circumstance here, but for the vast majority of my life, I, now 24, was raised alongside my 3 youngest aunts. 41, 38, and 34 currently. It was in their parents/my grandparents' home. I see them as sisters more than anything. The now 41-year-old is their golden child who can do no wrong. The 38-year-old is the black sheep, and the 34-year-old is in a weird middle place. I'm just kind of there. Due to my own parents' divorce, I was sent to live with my grandparents as a kid. I had to share the basement with the now 38-year-old aunt who was pregnant at the time. The 41-year-old, who Oh boy. She had 2 children under age 2 at the time, both living in her childhood bedroom upstairs with her and her boyfriend, rent-free. The old nursery was nominally for her eldest baby, but they didn't use it ever. They had travel cribs in her bedroom for the babies that they slept in. They even fully converted the family living room into a playroom for the kids. She was allowed to take over the entire house, but I was staunchly not allowed my own bedroom as a little girl recently torn away from my old life to be introduced to this bat crap crazy living situation. I was told not to mention my situation to CPS too. Maybe it's unjustified or dramatic or whatever, but that created a really deep mental wound I'm still working through. She only eventually moved out under heavy pressure from her parents when I was 14, when it was discovered she was pregnant again, and that she had fully planned on birthing and raising this 3rd child here in her parents' home, still while not paying rent of any sort. Nowadays, she's in her 40s, just had a 4th child while her oldest is about to be able to drive, finally has a part-time job, but she herself has never driven. In fact, my grandparents wake up around 7 a.m. every single morning and drive 3 towns away to drop off my grandmother to watch her baby, while my grandfather picks up her other children to take them to school. Then he drives her to her job. He comes home for a few hours, and then drives to her job to pick her up to drive her back to her own home. They're both almost 75 years old now, chauffeuring this grown woman to and from her part-time job like she's their 15-year-old at her first job, not a 40-something-year-old who still constantly uses her elderly grandparents as free childcare, to say nothing of how often they buy her family's entire monthly household goods or pay for repairs and bills around her and her husband's house. It's just insane. My grandparents are not perfect people, but good lord do they deserve better than this. They just can't see how screwed up their dynamic with her has been their whole life, and they refuse to accept that they enable her as well. Next story. Basically everything that went wrong when I was a kid was 100% my fault, and my brother could do no wrong. Nothing really backfired. It's just that being the lightning rod for literally every household issue motivated me to leave as soon as I could. Now it's decades later. I'm married to an amazing and beautiful woman. I have a really cool kid. I have a comfortable and engaging home life. I work in an office with highly intelligent people. He lives with mom and dad. He turned 40 this year. We've never seen him with a girlfriend or boyfriend. He just goes to work, plays video games, and sleeps. Okay, a little in your brother's defense. I don't think someone needs a relationship to be fulfilled in life. Are there other indicators that suggest he's not fulfilled in life? Maybe, but that alone isn't really anything in my opinion. Just because you've never seen someone with a girlfriend or boyfriend doesn't mean they're not, happy living life how they want to. Next story. Got a few, but this one was hard to watch. The youngest and only male grandchild in the country, so spoiled rotten by mom, dad, and all the aunts and uncles who only had daughters in a patriarchal culture. The parents convinced him he was God's gift, gave him all the best, brand name clothes, and flashy cars. And he started believing it enough that he argued himself out of an awesome job by a very embarrassing one-way war against the new manager. This was at a global brand. People go to their facilities to tour on international vacation level of company. So it was a major setback in his career. Parents were super embarrassed. But this sobered him up enough to realize that their advice sucked. And he started listening more to others and being more independent. Got enough self-confidence and awareness that he found someone very different and unknown to the family to marry, and his parents melted down. They were so used to having him in the palm of their hands, and they couldn't take the competition and the loss of control. They didn't realize they couldn't insult her and still be a part of his life. They set up a fake wedding to pretend they were still part of it, and he ended up in the hospital from stress, canceled everything the night before, and moved to another part of the country with his wife and her family who had embraced him and helped him get back on his feet when he refused the money his parents kept trying to use to get him in line. His parents are like ghosts now after being pretty publicly humiliated. They're all about appearances, and have only been invited to visit once, while the wife's parents live near and are close to the grandchildren. Their non-golden daughter also moved away, so basically, they're on their own now. Next story. My sis has always treated our mom like she's the hired help, insulting, belittling, yelling. My mom was my sister's childcare provider for all 3 kids. I'm not talking occasional babysitting. I'm talking daycare provider for free. My mom stopped going out with her friends, stopped taking trips, stopped seeing her sisters because all of a sudden she was the nanny, and my sister would threaten to take the kids away and not let her see them if my mom didn't follow her instructions exactly, or if she tried to say no. How do I know these things? Because I have forever been my mom's bestie and therapist. Hell, even after my mom's husband had a massive stroke, she still took care of the kids, even after he was okay to be at home. My mom was then taking care of him and 2 little kids. She'd call me in tears, upset over how my sister treated her, upset over how her husband was treating her, since he had lost any semblance of a filter after his stroke. For God's sake, she was back to watching the kids 2 weeks after her husband passed. No idea who cared for the kids during those 2 weeks that my sister granted mom to grieve, but she was driving to my sister's house to care for them. Rain, snow, early morning, late night, there's my mom, driving 15 to 29 minutes to care for the kids. Now that my mom is needing help, my brother-in-law has stepped up. I'd simply freaking refuse to. Mom paid for my sister's BA and master's. She's helped pay medical expenses. She's told me that sis is her favorite. She provided free childcare. She let my sister verbally abuse her for decades, and I've been the bestie, the therapist, holding her hand, making suggestions on what she could do to get out of the situation, and being ignored. And she's been doing this to me since I was a child. No more. Screw that noise. Next story. The golden child is the only one of my mother's children that is speaking to her regularly. He lives in the same city as her, while my other siblings and I are thousands of miles away. As her health starts to decline, golden child will be the only one available to help. He likely won't move away because he feels like he can't leave her alone. I was slated to be her caretaker, but that is never happening. Good luck to them. Next story. Growing up, my younger brother got almost everything he wanted. Yeah, there were some restrictions on what he was able to ask for, but he still got significantly more than I did. His own phone? Got it. His own pet? Got it. I moved out at 17 because my mom and I were constantly arguing. The thing is, now my mom and I's relationship is better, but that's not the point. 6 years ago, when it started falling apart for my brother, was when things started to go to hell for my mom. He had become so entitled, so reliant on weed. He got kicked out of 2 schools for his poor attitude, got arrested for drag racing, he bought a dog he couldn't afford to feed himself, and got into an argument with my stepdad and moved out. Then my mom went into debt to help him buy a trailer to live and pay rent in, went into debt to co-sign a loan, and he screwed her over on those too. Now he's living on the other side of the state, barely talks to my mom, and my mom is finally making admissions of things that she has done wrong while raising us. But their relationship is fractured. My brother has a crippling addiction to weed, couch surfing with friends, though I hope he's found someplace to live full time at this point, and really, he's just a mess. Next story. My mother thinks my brother can do no wrong and just constantly praises his wit, etc., while I usually get crapped on. But this seems to have really popped up later in life. I don't understand what her deal is. It's upsetting to me and I mention it to my brother. Listen to what she says to me at gatherings, etc. Anyway, my brother, being the amazing and supportive dude he is, started calling my mom out on that crap. He's not perfect by any means, but he's been a rock for me in a very rough adult life, and I will forever be grateful for it. So I guess it bit my mom in the butt that she raised such a golden child that he doesn't put up with her weird, sexist boomer crap, and she doesn't like that. That's probably the most interesting way it's come back to bite them. You raised your child too well, almost? So much that they see how not great you are to the other child. OP, I'm glad you have a supportive sibling in this. We've seen a lot of horror stories in this thread, so it's a bit refreshing, I guess. Anyway, that's the last story for today. Are any of you siblings? Was there a clear golden child in your family? Let me know. For now, though, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one.